Have you ever wondered how a man of humble beginnings can rise to become one of the most feared figures in the criminal underworld? This is the story of Leroy Nicholas Nicky Barnes, a tale as captivating as it is chilling. Born in the heart of Harlem, New York, in the year 1933, Barnes was no stranger to the harsh realities of the streets. The city's grimy streets were his playground, its dark corners, his classroom. As a young man, Barnes was like many others, trying to make ends meet with a regular 9-to-5. His money was always funny, working as a bellhop in a local hotel. But his destiny was not to be confined to the mundane routine of a 9-to-5 job. The allure of the streets was irresistible, and it wasn't long before he was introduced to the dangerous yet lucrative dope game. The transformation was gradual, and yet swift. Barnes found himself drawn to the power and respect that came with the game. He was no longer just a bellhop. He was a boss, a player in the game, a pawn moving swiftly across the chessboard of Harlem's underworld, with his eyes firmly set on the throne. His ambition was fueled by a desire for more than just wealth. It was power that Barnes craved, the kind of power that could command fear and respect at the same damn time. His journey into the realm of crime wasn't merely a descent into darkness, it was a calculated climb to the top. And he was willing to do whatever it took to get there. Barnes's story is a testament to the allure of power, to its ability to transform a man from a humble bellhop to a feared figure in the criminal underworld. It was in these streets that Barnes found more than just a livelihood. He found a path to power. The criminal underworld is not a labyrinth for the faint-hearted. It's a realm where only the steeliest survive, and Nicky Barnes was one such survivor. But his ascent to power wasn't a mere stroke of luck. It was a calculated series of maneuvers, likened to a grandmaster's strategy in a game of chess. Amid the gritty streets of Harlem, Barnes carved out a reputation for himself. His shrewdness, ambition, and ruthlessness were his weapons in the cutthroat world he dominated. He yearned for more than just being a player in the game. He sought to control the entire board. This led him to form the Council, an alliance of 7 drug barons with Barnes as their leader. This alliance fortified his position and earned him the notorious alias, Mr. Untouchable. It was a badge of honor, acknowledging not just his influence, but also his exceptional knack for evading the law. The law enforcement agencies made countless attempts to ensnare him, but Barnes always eluded them, creating an aura of invincibility in criminal realm. However, his ambition was not confined to Harlem's drug trade. He dreamed of expansion. To do that, he required more than mere manpower, connections, resources, and allies in high places. This is how the Italian mafia entered Barnes's narrative. He adeptly aligned himself with these seasoned underworld figures, leveraging their sway and resources to expand his empire. But this alliance wasn't without risks. It caught the attention of law and drew new enemies, yet Barnes remained unfazed. The inherent dangers and deceptions fueled him. He was an empire builder, not just a criminal. Harlem was his kingdom, and he was its uncontested king. But even the mightiest empires crumble, and Barnes' downfall was precipitated by an unexpected event. A magazine article that exposed his criminal to the public glare disrupted his operations and brought intense scrutiny from law enforcement agencies. As his exploits were laid bare for all to see, the authorities intensified their efforts and Barnes started to crumble. His reign was nearing its end, and the end was much closer than he had anticipated. Barnes was not just a criminal, he was a gangstar on the precipice of his downfall. What does it take to rule the streets of Harlem? To Barnes, it was about more than just power and fear. Nicky Barnes, known to many as Mr. Untouchable, didn't just command respect, he demanded it. At the helm of a vast criminal empire, Barnes's operations were intricate, expansive, and unapologetically ruthless. His primary source of income? Drug trafficking. Barnes was a mastermind in this illicit trade, running a complex network that stretched across Harlem and beyond. But a kingdom is only as strong as its king, and Barnes was nothing if not a formidable leader. With a keen mind and an iron fist, he kept his enterprise afloat and his rivals at bay. Street gangs, fellow kingpins like American Gangster Frank Lucas, and ambitious upstarts. Barnes faced them all. Yet he always managed to stay one step ahead. One might wonder, how did Barnes maintain his edge? Well, he was a keen strategist, always thinking several moves ahead. He understood the streets, the people, and most importantly, he understood power. His connections weren't limited to the streets of Harlem either. Rumors abounded about his ties to the Italian mafia, a connection that would have offered him a certain degree of protection and resources. Barnes also had an uncanny knack for turning adversity into opportunity. Whether it was a rival gang trying to muscle in on his territory, or a sudden shortage in supply, Barnes always found a way to come out on top. He was a survivor, a hustler, a true product of the ruthless world he helped create. Yet even as he basked in his reign, Barnes was far from invincible. His criminal activities drew the attention of law enforcement, and his audacious public persona only added fuel to their pursuit. Barnes may have been Mr. Untouchable in the streets, but in the eyes of the law, he was a wanted man. But even for Mr. Untouchable, the law was always just a step behind. No empire lasts forever, and for Barnes, his fall was as dramatic as his rise. Nicky Barnes, the man once revered as Mr. Untouchable, found himself ensnared in the very system he had so deftly evaded. In 1978, his reign came to a crashing halt when law enforcement agents swooped in, resulting in his arrest. The charges? An array of serious offenses from racketeering to drug trafficking, charges that could see him spending the rest of his life behind bars. Barnes was no stranger to the courtroom, his swagger and bravado often on display for all to see. However, this time was different. This time, he was up against an ironclad case built on extensive surveillance, damning evidence and testimonies from those within his own ranks. The trial was a spectacle, a media frenzy that marked the fall of Harlem's Kingpin. The verdict was as expected. Barnes was handed a life sentence without parole, a stark contrast to his once untouchable status. The empire he had built, the power he had wielded, it all came crumbling down within the cold, gray walls of the courtroom. But Barnes, ever the survivor, made a decision that shocked many. He chose to become a government informant. It was a surprising move, a complete departure from the street code he had once lived by. But for Barnes, it was a calculated decision, a means to an end. In exchange for his cooperation, he was placed in the Federal Witness Protection Program. He traded his flashy suits and lavish lifestyle for anonymity, a new identity, and a second chance at life. Yet, even as he navigated this new path, Barnes's influence continued to loom over Harlem, an echo of a time when he was the most feared and respected man in the neighborhood. In the end, even Mr. Untouchable wasn't untouchable after all. His fall from grace serves as a stark reminder of the fleeting nature of power and the inevitable downfall of those who believe they are above the law. What happens when a kingpin falls? The aftermath of Barnes's reign is a tale of betrayal, survival, and a desperate bid for redemption. In the wake of his arrest, Nicky Barnes was faced with a dilemma. His unwavering loyalty to the code of the streets and his former partners was tested. However, a shocking revelation pushed him towards a different route. Betrayed by his closest allies, Barnes discovered the painful truth that his girlfriend was having an affair with one of his trusted friends, a well-known gangster named Guy Fisher. This betrayal tipped the balance, and ultimately Barnes made the decision to cooperate with the authorities, a move that precipitated a seismic shift in the war on drugs. His testimony led to the conviction of more than 50 major players in the drug trade, shattering the syndicate he once presided over. Barnes's decision to turn informant wasn't without consequences. He was labeled a traitor by his former allies and became a marked man within the prison system, with his safety persistently under threat. In response to these threats, the government placed Barnes in the Federal Witness Protection Program. It was in this unfamiliar terrain, under a new identity, that he would spend the remainder of his days. His life in witness protection was a stark contrast from the glitz and glamour of his days as Harlem's Kingpin. The flashy cars, the opulent parties, the power, all were replaced by a quiet, anonymous existence, underscored by the ever-present threat of retribution. However, in spite of the adversities, Barnes managed to carve out a life for himself, even earning a college degree while under the watchful eye of the Witness Protection Program. In 2012, Barnes passed away, his death as quiet as his final years. Still, his legacy lived on. The tale of Nicky Barnes, the man who ascended from the streets of Harlem to become one of the most potent figures in the drug trade, continues to fascinate and intrigue. His life serves as a stark reminder of the attraction and peril of the criminal underworld. Nicky Barnes, once the untouchable kingpin of Harlem, left behind a legacy that continues to reverberate through the streets he once dominated. In the aftermath of Barnes's downfall, a silent echo of his legacy continues to reverberate. Once a kingpin, his life was a testament to the allure and danger of the criminal underworld. But what is the true legacy of Nicky Barnes? His story has been immortalized in the annals of crime history, his name synonymous with power, betrayal, and redemption. The streets he once ruled remember him as a charismatic leader, a ruthless businessman, and a traitor. Yet his life in the witness protection program, a stark contrast to his former existence, is a poignant reminder of the price of betrayal and the cost of a life lived on the wrong side of the law. Despite the drastic shift in his lifestyle, Barnes managed to find a semblance of peace and even pursued higher education. His tale serves as a stark reminder of the perils of the criminal underworld and the drastic consequences that come with its allure. But his story doesn't end there. His life and downfall continue to be a source of fascination, a topic of countless documentaries, books, and articles. His name continues to echo in the streets of Harlem, a haunting reminder of a time when he was the untouchable kingpin. So, as we close the chapter on the life of Nicky Barnes, we are left with a legacy that is as complex as the man himself, a blend of power, betrayal, redemption, and a life that continues to fascinate long after his demise. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. Until next time, remember, every story has many sides. Before we wrap up this captivating journey, we would like to invite you to join our community. If you've been enthralled by the tale of Nicky Barnes and are intrigued to explore more stories from the underworld, consider subscribing to our channel. By hitting the subscribe button, you become part of our family, a sucker-free community that is always curious, vigilant, and seeking the truth. Don't forget to click on the bell icon too. That way, you'll be notified each time we unravel another gripping saga. If you found Barnes' story intriguing, give us a thumbs up and share this video with friends who love a good crime story. Your likes, shares, and comments fuel our work and help us bring more intriguing tales to your screens. And finally, if you have any thoughts about Barnes' life and legacy, or suggestions for other stories you'd like us to cover, drop a comment below. We value your input and look forward to engaging with you in our comments section. Remember, every click, every share, every comment helps us unravel more stories from the shadows. So tap that like button and subscribe. It costs you nothing but means everything to us. Until next time, stay dangerous.